My name is Eric Lawson. I'm a 45-year-old paramedic, husband of 22 years, and father to a son I'm damn proud of. I thought I had it all: a strong marriage, a loving wife, a peaceful home. But that illusion shattered the moment we connected her phone to our brand new TV. What popped up on that screen didn't just reveal infidelity. It exposed an entire secret life happening right under my nose. Messages, photos, another man. And that was only the beginning. If you think betrayal ends with heartbreak, think again. Because what I discovered next nearly brought everything crashing down. If you asked anyone who knew us, they'd tell you we were the perfect couple. You know the type? Always smiling in family photos, hiking trails on weekends, sharing corny inside jokes no one else understood. We met in college, fell fast, and never looked back. We loved being outdoors, camping under the stars, kayaking across glassy lakes, early morning hikes followed by greasy diner breakfasts. We lived for that kind of stuff. It was our bond, our escape, our us. We made a promise to each other early on. We wouldn't let ourselves go. We wanted to be that couple, gray-haired, still fit, still hiking into our 60s and 70s. We exercised regularly, ate well, and cheered each other on in all aspects of life. We had a solid rhythm, or at least, I thought we did. Our intimacy never really faded either. Sure, we had the occasional dry spell, but nothing alarming. We flirted. We touched. We laughed. We made time for each other. That's what I kept telling myself, anyway. It made what came next all the more devastating. Over the past 9 months, my work schedule had taken a sharp turn. More night shifts. More last-minute coverage requests. The kind of hours that made me feel like a ghost in my own home. I'd leave as she was winding down for bed, and return just before sunrise while she was still asleep. Sometimes I wouldn't see her for days, aside from quick exchanges and the occasional text. It wasn't ideal, but we made do. Hannah, on the other hand, had started working from home. She was a litigation consultant for a well-known firm downtown. When the switch to remote work came, she wasn't happy about it. I remember her ranting in the kitchen about how impossible it would be to maintain client trust without in-person meetings. She's always been a people person, one of those smooth-talking professionals who could read a room before she even walked in. The idea of losing that face-to-face dynamic seemed to genuinely bother her. She even considered quitting at one point. Said she felt disconnected, stifled. I told her to hang in there, that things would settle. I guess they did, just not in the way I imagined. Despite our mismatched schedules, she always made time to check in. I'd wake up to a note on the fridge, a warm container of homemade soup, or a silly text. Missed you last night. Hope the junkies weren't too dramatic. It was the kind of affection you'd expect in a loving, long-term marriage. Nothing seemed off. Not a thing. And I was proud of that. That's the part that kills me the most. I was proud. I bragged about us to friends. Told my coworkers how lucky I was to have a wife who still cared after all these years. A woman who didn't just tolerate me, but appreciated me. Who made an effort. Who hadn't lost interest. I couldn't have been more wrong. Everything began to unravel on what should have been a simple, uneventful afternoon. It was a rare day off. My brother Matt was in town and stopped by to hang out. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and I'd recently won a Chromecast device in a work contest. Since Matt was always the tech-savvy one growing up, I asked him to help me set it up. We were in the living room, beers in hand, joking around, casting funny YouTube clips and old music videos to the TV from our phones. It was lighthearted, just two brothers enjoying a break from the chaos of life. Then Hannah walked in. She had just finished work and looked curious. "What are you two up to?" she asked, setting her water bottle down. "Just getting this Chromecast thing working," I replied. "You want Matt to set it up on your phone too? It's actually kind of cool." She hesitated. It wasn't a normal pause. It was that kind of hesitation you notice after something bad happens, when your brain starts replaying everything in slow motion. She glanced at the TV, then at me, then down at her phone. I remember thinking, why the hesitation? It's just a freaking app. It's super simple, I added. 2 seconds, and you'll be able to cast from your phone too. She gave a tight smile and nodded. Sure, okay. But just before she handed Matt her phone, I noticed her quickly swiping through something, maybe clearing apps or closing messages. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Why would I? We'd never hidden anything from each other before. Matt took the phone, started walking her through the steps. She asked how long it would take. Like 2 minutes, tops, he said. Okay, she replied, then added, I'm just going to use the bathroom real quick. As she turned to walk away, she looked back and said, You're just downloading the app, right? Matt laughed. Yeah, just the app. Not hacking the Pentagon. She smiled weakly and disappeared down the hallway. And that's when everything, the illusion, the trust, the pride, began to crack. What followed next still haunts me. Not just because of what I saw, but because of how completely blindsided I was. Because the moment her phone connected to that TV, my life changed forever. The Chromecast made its familiar little chime as it connected her phone to the screen. Matt and I weren't paying full attention. We were just sipping our beers, waiting for the interface to load. He tapped around a bit, joking about how ancient the user interface looked, then decided to open a few things just to test out the connection. That's when it happened. He opened her messaging app. I didn't think twice about it. He'd done the same with mine just 20 minutes earlier, joking about how many group chats I ignored. So when her screen popped up, I expected something similar. Maybe some Pinterest links, old texts from Dylan, or chats with her yoga group. You know, harmless stuff. But then, Matt tilted his head. Who's this? He asked, chuckling as he pointed at the screen. There, pinned at the top of her message list, was a single contact. No name, just a red heart emoji. Matt laughed, thinking it was between Hannah and me. Damn, didn't know you guys still send each other spicy texts. You dirty dog, he teased, nudging me with his elbow. I smiled at first, maybe even felt a little pride. We had sent some flirtatious messages in the past, especially back when our schedules barely aligned. A way to keep things alive, you know? But as Matt opened the thread and started reading, his laughter faded. He scrolled slowly at first, then stopped, staring at the screen with a puzzled look. Wait, this isn't you. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I asked, leaning over. He handed me the phone. And there it was. Messages upon messages. Explicit. Graphic. Bold. Photos. Videos. Nudes. Some of her. Some of him. And then, a name. Craig. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I didn't even realize I was gripping the phone until Matt quietly said, Dude. I couldn't respond. My hands were shaking. There was a message at the top, timestamped just earlier that day. I miss your mouth, baby. Last night was insane. You've got me addicted. Followed by her reply. Next time you'll have to be quieter. Eric was right in the next room. My vision blurred. My ears started ringing. I felt like I was underwater, like the floor beneath me wasn't solid anymore. And then the worst part, an image. A very specific image. That wasn't my body. That wasn't me. Matt saw my face and immediately backed off, putting his beard down. I'm gonna give you a minute, he said, his voice low. He stood up and walked toward the front door. I didn't know, man. I thought it was just you two being cute. He left without another word. I was still standing there, holding her phone like it was evidence in a murder trial. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. I hit screen record and started slowly scrolling through the thread, capturing every disgusting message, every intimate photo, every timestamp. The toilet flushed down the hall. Panic hit me like a wave. I fumbled to stop the recording, exited the app, dropped the phone on the couch like it burned me, and bolted out the front door to the porch. I sat down hard, heart pounding, trying to catch my breath. The quiet evening breeze didn't help. My world was tilting, spinning. 5 minutes passed. The door creaked open behind me. Hannah stepped out, her voice soft. How long have you been out here? I didn't even look at her. Matt and I came out here when you went to the bathroom, I said flatly. She seemed relieved. Too relieved. Like she was expecting something else. She sat down beside me and placed her hand on my thigh. It's such a nice night, she said. Her tone was casual, relaxed. I could barely hear her over the blood rushing in my ears. I stood up. Gonna grab another beer, I muttered. As I walked back inside, I noticed her phone was already disconnected from the Chromecast. Of course it was. The screen was black. I opened the fridge, stared blankly inside, then closed it again. My hands were still shaking. I had just seen my wife of 22 years with another man, on my own TV screen. In my own home. Messages written while I was working 14-hour shifts, trying to keep people alive. Photos taken in my house while I was asleep in the next room. And she was out there now, acting like nothing had happened. Like none of it existed. I had to get out. Just for a while. Clear my head before I did something I'd regret. I told her I was going for a run. She said, That's good. You haven't had one in a few days. I nodded and left. What she didn't know was that I wasn't running to burn calories. I was running to survive the rage building in my chest. I needed to think. I needed a plan. I needed to know just how far this betrayal went. And I was going to find out, no matter what it took. The night air didn't do much to cool me down. I ran. Hard. Faster than I had in years. My lungs burned, my legs ached, and my heart. God, my heart was just trying to keep up with the storm inside me. I didn't have a route or a plan. I just kept moving, one foot after the other, hoping that maybe if I ran fast enough, far enough, I could leave the image of those messages behind. But of course I couldn't. Every message, every picture, every filthy word she sent him, Craig, was seared into my brain. The guy had been in my house, in my bed, for all I knew. And she didn't just cheat on me. She orchestrated it. She scheduled it around my work shifts, around my sleep, around the life we'd built together. She was calculated. And worse, she was comfortable. She texted him while I was sleeping, while I was out saving lives, while I was thinking about how much I missed her. The same woman who packed my lunch and told me she loved me had another man between her legs before I even clocked out. By the time I made it back to the house, my shirt was soaked in sweat and my chest was tight, not just from the run, but from what I was about to do. I had to see more. I needed to. It's hard to explain why. Maybe it was the betrayal, so deep I couldn't stop scratching at it. Maybe it was obsession, needing to know how long it had gone on, how many lies she'd told, how many times I'd kissed her not knowing where her mouth had just been. I wanted to see it. I needed to see the full scope of the damage. So I made a plan. Later that night, after we ate dinner in strained silence, Hannah slipped into the bathroom for her usual bath. That was my chance. I grabbed the Chromecast remote, made a show of fumbling with it, then walked over to the bathroom door. "Hey," I said casually. "I think I messed something up with the setup earlier. I might need to re-download the app on both our phones." She hesitated. "Do we really need to? I'm not going to use it much." "Probably not," I lied. "But I just want to finish setting it up so we don't have to mess with it later." She went quiet. Then, "Okay, I'll get out and help you." No, I said quickly. "You've had a long day. Just relax. I'll handle it." There was another pause. Then her voice came back, tense this time. "Just don't go through anything, okay? I have confidential client stuff on there." "Confidential?" "Right." I kept my tone even. "Why would client info be on your personal phone?" She fumbled for an excuse. "My laptop was acting up, so I had to forward a few things to myself. Just be careful." She reluctantly handed her phone over from behind the cracked door, wrapped in a towel. I took it, my hands trembling slightly. I walked out fast, shut the door behind me, and headed straight to the living room. This time, I wasn't fumbling. I opened the messaging app and went right back to the heart emoji thread. I scrolled and scrolled. The messages dated back nearly a year, almost to the day she started working from home. In fact, one of the first threads was her venting to Craig about the switch and how she wouldn't get to see him in person anymore. His reply? "Guess we'll have to find creative solutions." My stomach turned. Another message a few weeks later. "You should come over sometime. Eric's working nights now. Just gotta be quiet." The rage in me boiled. So it hadn't just been opportunistic. It had been planned. She invited him in. She opened the door, offered him a seat at the table, and then let him crawl between her sheets while I was in the next room, dead to the world. And she'd kiss me goodbye the next morning. I started recording everything. Screen recorded the entire thread, from the earliest message to the most recent. I sent it all to myself via email, then deleted the videos from her phone's gallery and cleared the sent items. I was surgical about it. Years of emergency fieldwork had trained me well. Calm under pressure. Efficient. Clean. When I heard the water drain in the tub, I snapped out of it. I exited the app, wiped down the screen, and walked calmly back to the bathroom. She called out, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah," I replied. "Had to restart it, but it's working now." I handed her the phone. She didn't say anything else. I walked out, back into the living room, and sat down on the edge of the couch like a man balancing on the edge of a cliff. I opened my email on my own phone, clicked play on the video, and started reading everything again, this time slowly. Carefully. That's when I saw it. Craig had been to the house during the day, during the night. Even while I was home, asleep in bed. He'd sneak in. They'd hook up, then pretend like nothing happened. Sometimes they even laughed about it in their texts. I felt sick, like I needed to throw up everything I'd ever eaten in that house. I wasn't just being betrayed, I was being mocked. And now that I knew just how far it went, I realized something else. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night. I lay beside her in our bed. Our bed, listening to the sound of her breathing, slow and steady, as if nothing was wrong. As if the world hadn't just split in two beneath us. She curled up against me at one point, resting her head on my chest like she used to, and I had to fight the urge to recoil. Her touch used to feel like home. That night, it felt like ice. I stared up at the ceiling, my mind spinning with every message I'd read, every filthy image I'd burned into my memory. Every lie, every betrayal, every time she smiled at me, knowing damn well what she was doing when I wasn't looking. At 3 a.m., I slipped out of bed and went to the porch. The quiet was deafening. Just the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind, the creak of a loose board underfoot, and the low hum of streetlights. I stood there, arms crossed, staring out into the darkness, wondering how I got here. How the woman I loved, trusted, could do something so calculated, so cruel, and still have the audacity to kiss me goodnight like everything was fine. She didn't just cheat on me. She desecrated our marriage. She welcomed another man into the sacred spaces of our life. Our home, our bed, our time. And I let her. Blind, naive, busy keeping other people alive while the woman I loved slowly killed every part of me. But I wasn't going to stay blind. I needed more than just proof. I needed the whole picture. The next morning, she acted normal. Almost too normal. She made coffee, kissed my cheek, asked if I wanted pancakes. I looked at her and realized just how good of an actress she really was. Maybe she had been playing a part for months. Maybe years. While she showered, I locked myself in the downstairs bathroom with my phone and started reviewing the screen recordings I had emailed to myself. I paused through every thread, reading between the lines, noting times, dates, patterns. The affair wasn't just physical, it was emotional. They joked. They confided in each other. They shared memes. She sent him selfies in lingerie I'd never even seen before. It felt like a second life. One she'd built in parallel to ours, just without the burden of commitment. And then came the part that made my blood run cold. She'd been sending Craig confidential legal information. I noticed a message where she forwarded a document to him, a file name that matched the firm she used to contract with. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then it clicked. She wasn't just having an affair. She was using her access, her position, to leak information. I remembered what she told me months ago, that her firm had gone liquid talent, shifting everyone to remote work, that she had no choice. But suddenly, I wondered, was that even true? Or was that the cover story she gave me while quietly getting pushed out? The deeper I dug, the more it stunk. And I needed someone smarter than me to help put the pieces together. That night, after she fell asleep, I called my brother Matt. He didn't answer at first, but called back 5 minutes later. "You all right?" he asked, voice low, concerned. "I'm not sure," I replied. "But I need your help." I told him everything, what I found, what I suspected, how far back it all went. I could hear him pacing on the other end of the line. "Eric, this is big," he said finally. "You need a lawyer. A real one." He wasn't wrong, and I knew exactly who to call. There was a couple Hannah and I had known through her firm, Michael and Sandra Dawson. Both lawyers. They ran their own boutique firm downtown. We used to have dinners with them occasionally. Nothing extravagant, just casual nights in, a few bottles of wine, laughter, small talk. Then one day, the invitations stopped. At the time, I thought it was just a shift in schedules. But now I wasn't so sure. Matt encouraged me to reach out. Said Michael had a reputation for being discreet, but deadly in the courtroom. You need someone who knows her world. Someone who won't get starstruck by her legal games. The next morning, I sent Michael a message asking if we could talk, privately. Within the hour, he replied, "Of course. Let's keep this between us for now. I have a feeling I know what this is about." That single sentence told me everything I needed to know. He'd seen it coming. He gave me a list. Open new accounts, start separating my money, copy important documents. Don't move too fast. Don't tip her off. And most importantly, don't confront her until the paperwork is in place. It was like preparing for battle. And I wasn't going in unarmed. Because now, I had the truth. And soon, she'd feel the weight of it. The days that followed felt like I was living two lives. By day, I was the same old Eric, husband, paramedic, neighbor waving at the mailman. man of the house fixing a squeaky door or unclogging the sink. I kept the charade going, wearing the mask I'd worn for years. Only now, it felt suffocating. Every smile I gave her was calculated. Every, "I love you," she said in passing scraped like sandpaper against my chest. But behind the mask, I was preparing for war. Michael, the lawyer friend, was a godsend. He didn't just listen, he acted. Fast. Once I sent him the recordings and screenshots, he looped in a private investigator and gave me a detailed plan: financial separation, digital backups, asset protection, and most importantly, control the narrative. I wasn't going to let her blindside me. I would not be the fool who gets dragged through court while she plays the victim. No, I was done being passive. One night, while Hannah was brushing her teeth, I accessed our joint banking app. Quietly, quickly, I transferred small amounts, nothing obvious, into a new account Michael helped me set up. I started pulling recent statements, scanning through every expense with a new lens. Dinners she claimed were with clients? Lies. Lyft rides charged late at night from addresses far from her firm? Craig. It was all there, in plain sight. She'd grown sloppy, arrogant, even. That's the thing about cheaters. They don't expect you to catch on until it's too late. One evening, I came home from work early. She didn't hear me enter. I stood silently in the hallway, listening. Laughter. Her voice, soft, giggling. I peeked into the living room. She was on the phone, curled up on the couch in her robe, feet tucked under her. Her laptop was open, untouched. Her face was glowing in a way that hadn't been meant for me in a long time. She whispered, "No, I can't tonight. He's home early." "Yeah, I know. I miss you too." She paused. "Then, next week, okay? He's working a double. We'll have all night." I stepped back, my fists clenched. It took everything in me not to walk in there and confront her on the spot. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I had something better than rage. I had leverage. Later that night, I played it cool. I asked her how her day was, what she'd worked on. She fed me a long-winded story about a client dispute and a misfiled motion. I nodded along, pretending to care, wondering how she kept a straight face. She kissed my cheek and said she was tired. I told her to sleep in. I didn't sleep at all. Instead, I went back through the messages. Through Craig's Instagram, where I discovered something else. Something that twisted the knife even deeper. He wasn't just an attorney. He worked at one of the firms Hannah had done freelance consulting for. A direct connection. It wasn't just unethical. It was criminal. And then I found the thread that made it all click. She'd told Craig she was upset when she was forced to work from home. That she wouldn't see him anymore. He replied that they'd figure it out. A week later, she started telling me how much she hated remote work, how everyone was doing it, and she didn't have a choice. She'd been lying to me and to her firm. Her contract wasn't extended, it was terminated. Quietly, professionally, but not before they found out what she was doing. Michael confirmed it when I called him. She started leaking sensitive information to Craig, he told me. Things that could sway settlements. Inside knowledge. They suspected something and decided to distance her. They did it quietly to avoid a scandal. So the work-from-home excuse? That was a cover. She wasn't working from home. She was serving time in professional exile. House arrest, practically. And I had been dumb enough to believe every word she fed me. That night, I sat across from her at the dinner table, watching her pour herself a glass of wine, laughing at something on her phone, probably some stupid meme from Craig, and I realized something that chilled me to the bone. She wasn't worried. She wasn't scared. She didn't even suspect that I knew. And that was exactly what I needed. Because I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make her feel every ounce of betrayal, every lie, every moment she made me doubt myself. She had no idea the storm that was coming. And this time, I wasn't saving anyone. I was bringing it. The day I served her the divorce papers started like any other. She was in the kitchen, humming along to some indie playlist on her phone while scrambling eggs. The smell of butter and coffee filled the air. A casual Saturday morning in the Lawson household. Picture perfect if you didn't know what I knew. If you hadn't seen the filth she'd sent another man. If you hadn't read messages where she laughed about sneaking him into our home while her loyal husband snored just down the hall. I sat at the table, sipping my coffee, pretending everything was fine. She slid a plate in front of me and kissed my forehead. "You've been so tired lately," she said. "I thought I'd treat you." I smiled. "Thanks." She had no idea. The night before, I'd finalized everything with Michael. The paperwork, the financials, the plan. It was all done, tied up in a neat little bow of betrayal and legal vengeance. The private investigator had given us even more ammunition, photos, timestamps, emails, everything. She was standing on a trapdoor and didn't even know it. I waited until she took a call and stepped into her office. That's when the process server knocked on the front door. "Eric Lawson?" he asked. I nodded. He handed me the envelope, then stepped back with a polite smile. I turned, walked down the hallway, and opened the door to her office without knocking. She looked up, confused. "What's going on?" I didn't say a word, just placed the envelope on her desk. "What's this?" she asked, already reaching for it. "Divorce papers," I said flatly. "You've been served." Her face twisted in slow motion. "What are you talking about?" I leaned on the doorframe. "Don't insult me, Hannah. I know about everything." She opened the envelope, scanned the top page, and her hands started to tremble. "Eric, wait, we can talk about this. Whatever you think. Save it," I cut in. "I've got messages, photos, screen recordings. I know about Craig. I know about the leaks. I know you were fired, not reassigned." Her face drained of color. "You've been lying to me for over a year. In our home. While I was working to support you. While I was out saving lives, you were what? Playing house with another man in my bed." Tears started to well in her eyes. "I can explain." "Don't," I said coldly. "I'm not interested in explanations. I'm interested in results. That envelope is one." She stood up suddenly, her voice sharp. "You don't know what you're doing. I work with lawyers every day, Eric. I know people. You're not going to win this." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "That might have scared me a week ago, but not anymore. Because I hired someone who's better than all your people combined. And he already knows who you are." Silence. She sat down, slowly, gripping the edge of her desk like the floor had shifted under her. "I'm not leaving the house," I added. "You are. You can find another office to work from. You've already proven you don't know how to respect the boundaries of this one." She tried one more card. "This is where I work. My clients expect." "Your clients expect discretion," I said. "And if they find out what you've been doing with Craig, that expectation goes out the window. So maybe it's best you leave before I lose my patience." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She knew I was right. I turned to walk out, but stopped in the doorway. "Oh," I added over my shoulder. "You're telling Dylan." "Not me. He deserves to hear it from you. Or I'll show him the screenshots myself." That finally broke her. She crumbled into her chair and buried her face in her hands. I walked away, heart pounding, adrenaline surging through my veins. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. Later that evening, she told Dylan. I stayed in the backyard while it happened, sitting in the dark with a beer in my hand, listening to the muffled sound of her voice through the glass doors. Then the shouting. Then the silence. Dylan came out to find me. He didn't say much at first, just stood there, staring into the night. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said eventually. I shook my head. "You didn't do anything wrong. She really screwed up." "Yeah," I replied. "She did." He put a hand on my shoulder. "You want her gone, right?" "Yeah." "Then I'll help." She moved out 2 days later. Dylan helped carry her boxes to the car. She tried to apologize to him. He didn't say a word, just stood beside me as she closed the trunk and drove away. And just like that, the house was quiet. For the first time in a long time, I could actually breathe. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Because karma was just getting warmed up. And Hannah? She had a lot more to lose. The silence in the house after she left was deafening, but it wasn't the kind of silence that haunted me. It was peaceful. For the first time in over a year, I could actually sit in my own living room without questioning everything. No more fake smiles. No more pretending not to notice her slipping glances at her phone. No more lying beside someone who had already chosen someone else. But peace doesn't mean closure. A few days after Hannah moved out, I got a call from my attorney, Michael. His voice had a tone I hadn't heard before, somewhere between cautious and amused. "Thought you should know," he said. "Your wife tried to contact me today." I stiffened. "What for?" She said she wants to reconcile. Said it was all a mistake. That she's willing to work through it if you drop the divorce. I couldn't help but laugh. A cold, bitter laugh. She wants to work through it now? After she got caught. "Oh, and one more thing," he added. "She and Craig offered to pay you off. A cash settlement in exchange for your silence." That one hit different. I stood there in my kitchen, gripping the counter until my knuckles went white. "Let me guess," I said. She's afraid it's going to blow up her career. Michael hesitated for a second. That's just the start of it. Then he dropped the bombshell. Apparently, while Hannah was still working for a prestigious consulting firm, she wasn't just sleeping with Craig. She was leaking sensitive legal information to him. Internal emails, case strategies, confidential client updates. And someone had been watching. The firm didn't fire her outright. No, they were smarter than that. They dissolved the contract quietly to avoid scandal, but they flagged the behavior. Turns out, Craig, Mr. Suave attorney, was under internal scrutiny himself. Some of the clients he'd won cases for were starting to notice irregularities. Now both their names were circling the legal community. Whispered rumors at conferences. Cold shoulders from once friendly colleagues. And somewhere in the shadows, the State Bar Association had launched a formal investigation into potential breaches of attorney-client privilege. You see, Michael continued, they didn't just break vows, Eric. They broke the law. I let that sink in. Every lie she told me, every smug smile she wore while sipping wine on the couch, every time she shut her laptop when I entered the room, it was all part of something deeper, something far worse than I ever imagined. And now it was unraveling right beneath her feet. Michael advised I stay the course. No interviews. No drama. Let them burn themselves to the ground. I agreed. My silence was my power now. But just to make things clear, I blocked her number and instructed Michael to handle all communication going forward. The next week, she showed up at the house unannounced. I was out on the porch with Dylan, just finishing a late dinner. Her car pulled into the driveway like nothing had changed, like she still belonged there. She stepped out, eyes red, holding a small box. Eric, can we talk? Dylan stood up, instantly tense. I stayed seated. We've said everything we needed to. Her voice cracked. I messed up. I know that. But you don't understand. I was scared. I thought you were slipping away. You were always working and I don't. I said sharply, standing now. Don't make this about my job. Don't make your affair my fault. She looked desperate. Please. I'll walk away from everything. I'll fix it. Just don't ruin my career. There it was. The truth behind her tears. Not guilt. Not love. Fear. I stepped closer. You didn't care about me when you were sneaking him into our home. You didn't care about Dylan when you lied to his face. And you sure as hell didn't care about your career when you were leaking confidential files from your firm. Now you're scared because the walls are closing in. She said nothing. Just stood there, gripping that box like it was a shield. Her lip trembled, but I saw no sincerity, just panic. Leave, I said. She looked to Dylan for sympathy. He just shook his head. You should go. That was the last time I saw her in person. By the end of that week, Michael finalized the financial terms. She gave up a large lump sum to avoid long-term alimony. I used it to pay off the remainder of the mortgage. The house was now mine. Fully mine. She lost the consulting contract. Her name was blacklisted from several firms. And as the investigation deepened, even Craig began distancing himself from her. The golden couple had crumbled, and all I had to do was let gravity do its thing. It was justice, not by fire, but by quiet, surgical collapse. And the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger. All I did was expose the truth. And the truth did the rest. It's strange how quickly life can go from chaos to calm. After months of lies, betrayal, and gut-wrenching realizations, I found myself standing in my own living room, alone, at peace, and for the first time in years, free. The house felt different now, not haunted anymore. It had taken on a stillness that wasn't empty, but intentional. The absence of her voice, her perfume lingering in the hallway, the fake laughter over phone calls that were never about work, it was all gone. I could breathe again. But just because she was gone didn't mean the story was over. The real fireworks were still to come. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized and the money was transferred, Michael gave me a call. You sitting down? He asked. I was outside, sipping coffee on the porch. Hit me. Hannah's under formal investigation now. The Bar Association has moved forward. Apparently, there were emails, recorded Zoom calls, and, get this, unauthorized file transfers traced back to her IP. I closed my eyes and let out a slow breath. So it's all real? It's worse than we thought, he said. They're talking about possible disbarment for Craig and potential civil lawsuits for both of them. She's not just looking at a lost contract anymore. She's looking at being blackballed from the entire legal community. I didn't respond immediately. I just watched a squirrel dart across the fence line and disappear into the neighbor's tree. Then I laughed. Not a bitter laugh. Not a vengeful one. Just relief. Because she'd done it to herself. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she could manipulate me, cheat on me, lie to her firm, and leak private legal information to her lover, and get away with it all because she smiled pretty and knew the right people. But what she didn't count on was me waking up. She didn't know I had it in me to play the long game, to stay calm, to gather evidence, to sit quietly in the background while she built her own gallows, one lie at a time. Craig wasn't faring much better. According to Michael's contacts, several of his clients had pulled their cases. His firm was distancing themselves fast. Apparently, the whispers were turning into full-blown inquiries. There were emails between him and Hannah that showed an alarming pattern of misconduct. It was only a matter of time now. And the irony? They tried to pay me off. They offered me money to keep quiet, not realizing that their entire world was already crumbling without a word from me. I didn't need to ruin them. The truth did that for me. A week after that call, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It read, "You happy now? You destroyed my life. I hope it was worth it." I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. She still didn't get it. I didn't destroy her. She did that the moment she brought another man into my house. The moment she used my trust like a doormat and walked over it, heels digging in, pretending it wasn't bleeding underneath her feet. All I did was refuse to be silent. And now, standing in the ruins of the life she tried to hide, she finally had to look in the mirror and see the monster staring back. Dylan came over that evening. We grilled steaks, cracked a couple of beers, and laughed about stupid things. Nothing heavy, nothing about the past. At one point, he looked around the backyard and said, "You've got a nice setup here, Dad. Real peaceful." I nodded. "Took a while to get here." "You deserve it," he said. I don't think he realized how much those words meant to me. Because for a long time, I felt like a fool. Like I'd let it all happen right under my nose. But now, I knew better. I wasn't weak. I was trusting. I wasn't blind. I was committed. And when that commitment was betrayed, I didn't burn the world down. I rebuilt mine, brick by brick, without her. Now I have my home, my son, my peace. And as for Hannah, well, she has Craig, and lawsuits, and a reputation torn to shreds. They can keep each other. Let them figure out what loyalty means when the foundation is built on lies. As for me, I'm moving forward, and I'm never looking back. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that silence doesn't mean weakness, and kindness should never be mistaken for blindness. When you've spent decades building a life with someone, the idea of betrayal feels unthinkable. But time doesn't always guarantee loyalty. Sometimes, the person beside you is wearing a mask, and it's only through pain that the truth is revealed. I used to believe that love alone was enough. That effort, routine, and shared memories could hold a marriage together. But now I know, trust is the real foundation, and once that's broken, everything else begins to rot from the inside. To those in their later years, don't ever think it's too late to demand respect or to start over. You are never too old to choose peace over pain, to choose dignity over deception. And if your gut tells you something is off, listen. Protect yourself, emotionally, legally, financially. Love is beautiful, but it should never come at the cost of your self-worth. Life doesn't end when someone walks out. Sometimes, that's when your real life finally begins.